So I knew this guy who, one thing that he was known for was that he used to eat terribly. He loved fast food, greasy food, all of that. He ate so much of it every day, and he got so much enjoyment out of it. But there were a couple issues because he was older, and he had a lot of underlying conditions, and so we told him multiple times, like, hey man, you gotta slow down. And he just rejected it. And I was surprised one day when I saw him and he looked really happy. He said he'd just come back from his doctor's office, and his doctor came back with the test results, and he's like, hey man, like, your cholesterol is crazy high. If you continue these eating habits, if you continue living like this, the consequences that are following, that are going to come along, are not good. You're going to develop some pretty bad health issues. And so this man, he started yelling at the doctor, how dare you? Who do you think you are? How dare you tell me how to live my life? How dare you? Don't you criticize me. And then he was happy because the doctor, after he yelled at him, the doctor kind of backed off and he was like, whoa, okay, so I've only been practicing for 25 years, but I don't know anything. You just do what makes you happy. You just keep on living your life. And obviously this is a hypothetical story, because if this doctor actually existed, he would have been sued for malpractice years ago. But this speaks to a truth in my life, because I don't like when others show me that I am wrong. I don't like it when other people tell me how to live my life. It makes me feel so embarrassed, but then also it's so much work. I have to change my ways, the way I live my life. It takes so much work and time and effort. It's just not even worth it sometimes. Or at least I think. And I certainly don't want to hear correction or a method of how to live my life from the church. You don't know about my life? Just stay out of it. That seems like that would be the easier option. And it's even worse when people point out where I'm living my life wrong. But then I take a look at what they're showing me, and I see like, they're right. Then sometimes I have an even stronger reaction against them. In our first reading today, Ezekiel is warning the Israelites. And Ezekiel, like all the other prophets, is rejected by Israel. But Ezekiel's talking about Israel, how they're living their life as if God does not exist. They're living their life apart from God. And Ezekiel comes to tell Israel, like, hey, like, if you keep living this way, these are the consequences. And he tells them that if you keep on living this way, if you keep on living as if God doesn't exist, you're going to be exiled, and your land's going to be destroyed. And of course, Israel does not believe him, which, again, kind of speaks to that truth that when someone points out a hole in our logic, especially if it's true, we're often tempted to reject them. And so Israel rejects him, and ironically, they are conquered. The city is destroyed a couple years later by the Babylonians, and they're exiled from their land. So Ezekiel was right, but we didn't listen. Jesus also hits on this theme of repentance. And sometimes his words seem kind of intense. Like, all right, Jesus, like, really? Is it this big of a deal? But Jesus knows how destructive our sin is. Jesus wants to be in relationship with us. And he knows that the only thing blocking that relationship is our sin and our choice to sin. And so he will use whatever he needs to wake us up, even if that includes harsh language. And he is never going to give up on us like that bad doctor in that story I led off with. He's never going to say, you know what? You just keep living the way that makes you happy. Like, no, he's going to wake us up, and he's going to call us out. So the good news today is, although sometimes those rebukes can be kind of uncomfortable and embarrassing in our world, but when Jesus rebukes us, his rebuke is always ordered to our salvation. It's always ordered to our repentance, because, like I said, he knows that the sin is in the way of that relationship with him. And he wants to be in relationship so badly that he will do whatever it takes to get that obstacle out of the way. And sometimes that means rebuke. But it's not just rebuke and accusation just to accuse. It's so that we can come back into relationship with him and go back to a fullness of life. And so this is not news to anyone, but we aren't perfect. And sometimes we make mistakes. But the good news today, the very good news today, is that when we're offered corrections, when we're offered rebukes by Jesus and by his church, those are always ordered to our salvation, always ordered to being in that intimate relationship with Jesus. And even more good news, when we sin, Jesus lays out a detailed plan about how to bring us back. Before we even turn away, Jesus is already planning how to bring us back. It's not just a general plan. It's multiple steps and details about this is what you do and this is how you bring people back. And so as we come before the Lord today, let's ask him for the grace to have an open heart, that when he gives us his gentle, and sometimes not so gentle, rebuke, our hearts can be open to repentance and coming back into relationship with him. And we can see this as an invitation, not just an accusation. We can ask Jesus to give me the grace to not only have my heart open to this myself, but be open to give a generous response and turn back to him in relationship.